This is Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, brought to you by the Iowa Soybean Association, your source for the latest Iowa ag news headlines right here in the heart of the heartland. With reports from our award-winning team of Dustin Hoffman, Riley Smith, Mark Magnuson, and Andy Peterson. Now, from the IARN studios in Des Moines, here's Mark.
Hello and welcome into Ag Matters PM on the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. I'm Mark Magnuson. Today is Tuesday, June 17th, 2025, and we're so glad you can join us for today's show. In today's episode, I will be joined by Kaden Sweeney of agmarket.net for our closing markets. But first, it is time for my conversation with Kiersten Hafer of the National Pork Board as we learn more about the data and insights behind the Taste What Pork Can Do campaign. Mark Magnuson for the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, and I'm joined today by Kiersten Hafer. We are at the World Pork Expo in Des Moines 2025, and we are here to talk Taste What Pork Can Do, the new consumer campaign from National Pork Board. Kiersten, could you tell us, please, first of all, just to remind us, why is this such a big campaign? Why is this such a big deal for National Pork Board?
It is a transitional and transformational moment for pork. We are going to become more relevant than we've ever been with younger consumers. So it's a really big opportunity for us to drive the category forward.
And I remember when we were getting ready for the run-up for the rollout for the campaign, there was some talk about how big of a campaign it was, and really that it was almost, harkening back to the days of pork the other white meat. Is it that big of a campaign? Is it that big of a push for this new consumer campaign?
It is. And what's different this time around is that we know more about the consumer than we've ever known before. So we've been using a lot of the data, the insights, and the analytics to really understand who the consumer is, where they are, and how we can meet them on their terms.
So let's talk about that data. How did all of the data come together for this project? Was it just all digital based? How did exactly everything come together to put this campaign together?
Yeah, it's a great question. So we have invested a lot of producer dollars to really understand what is happening in the food industry. How do consumers feel about food? How do they feel about meat? And how do they feel about pork specifically? That has enabled us to really identify an ownable position for pork, which is flavor, and take what we've been doing very well on the process side and the things that consumers love and transition it over to the fresh side for a complete campaign and role of pork in the way that it connects to them and their needs and how they make decisions about food and how they source things. So it's an opportunity for us to take all of that understanding about purchasing and how and what they use in their home and overlay that with a lot of the work that we've done on consumer segmentation. So we invested heavily in segmenting consumers so that we knew what was most important to them and how to deliver the right message at the right time in the right way to get them to consider pork. So those things all are leveraged in the campaign in the way that we've developed the messaging, in the way that we've developed the creative, in the way that we've identified the tactics that will be used from a marketing perspective to reach them.
So basically, Kiersten, and kind of the way I'm hearing it is, yes, there's a lot of fans of pork, a lot of people that buy pork, but they don't always view everything the same, and they kind of are just, everyone's a different consumer. So you have to kind of come at everyone from a different perspective a little bit.
Absolutely. So we've got confident meat eaters that are huge pork fans. They know exactly what to do with all of our pork portfolio. They know what to do with a pork shoulder. They know what to do with a pork chop. We've got then mindful choice makers that are really concerned about nutrition. They read labels, they want to know where their food comes from, and they want high quality, good, nutritious food for them and their family. We've got tasty value seekers who are just buying on price. We've got then culinary adventurers that want to explore using food and they want to explore cultural cuisine. That's a place where pork plays a critical role and is a huge opportunity. So we've identified 3 segments in particular: the culinary adventurers, those that want to explore and use food to do that; the confident meat eaters, who are really hardcore pork fans and consumers; and then the mindful choice makers, who are thinking about nutrition a little bit differently than how we've really connected with them before. So those are the 3 that we've prioritized and have identified as really big opportunities for pork over the next 5 to 10 years.
So all of the data that goes into it leading up to the campaign, have you been, happy with the data so far coming out of the rollout of the campaign so far?
Yeah, so we're in market about 30 days and we're seeing some really good momentum. Because it is a highly digital and social media focused campaign, we get almost instant feedback. So it's been really great to see how we've been connecting with consumers, how our B2B environment, so retailers, food service operators, our packer processor partners, they're all really excited and taking the campaign and running with it as well.
Kiersten, is there anything else you'd like to let our Iowa listeners know about when it comes to the new campaign, or just anything that you're working on, or anything that's interested you about the campaign?
The biggest thing that comes out of the campaign, we've got a great tagline and we've got a great opportunity to deliver that to consumers. But this is really about repositioning pork, and it's focusing on taste and flavor, convenience, versatility, and nutrition. And those are going to be the biggest things that you see from us and from the industry going forward.
Kiersten Hafer with National Pork Board talking about taste, what pork can do. Kiersten, thanks so much for the time here today at World Pork Expo. It's been a very interesting conversation. Have a great rest of the expo.
Thanks so much.
Thank you to Kiersten Hafer of the National Pork Board for joining today's episode of Ag Matters PM. It is time now for the closing markets, and I will be joined by Kaden Sweeney of agmarket.net next. But first, a word from our sponsor, the Iowa Soybean Association and the Soybean Checkoff.
Iowa Soybean Association is driven to deliver for Iowa's 40,000 soybean farmers. We're proud to provide objective agronomic research, a helping hand with soil and water stewardship, and timely industry news powered by the Soybean Checkoff. Learn more at iasoybeans.com.
Time now for the closing markets here on Ag Matters PM, and I'm joined by Kaden Sweeney of agmarket.net. Kaden, at least at midday today, there was quite a bit of green on the screens on the grain side of the markets. Is that how we closed today?
Yeah, we did for the most part, especially in all three of the new crop contracts, at least taking back some of yesterday's loss on the corn side, up 3 or 4, and beans up 7 or 8, and wheat, the strongest of the day, up 12, 13. So certainly a nice little turnaround Tuesday today. I think, the story on the wheat side is a lot of talk of some plenty of rain pressure, so to speak, as harvest is rolling, or at least trying to get rolling kind of in the southern part of, kind of the wheat belt there, and having a tough time getting in. I think that's the big story there. Corn and bean side, I think corn just a bit of a bounce back, and beans obviously still trading off of Friday's renewable news.
And on Friday, and then also following that up yesterday, we had limit up on the soybean oil. How did soybean oil perform here today?
Yeah, soybean oil giving back a bit today, so at least we've kind of topped out. At least the limit moves for now, down 42 cents or so here at the close. So nothing too crazy there. I think there's going to be some continued strength, but at least taking a breather here on Tuesday.
And when you think about that relationship as well, we saw the price take a hit for the soy meal side of the market. Is that just the simple case that when we do have more of that oil in production, or more of the soybean crush happening to get that oil, of course, for those RVO requirements, that there's just going to be more soybean meal to go along with it?
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. Meal just kind of, unfortunately, as far as the market is concerned, is the odd man out in that equation. You need beans to feed it. So beans go up, and your oil is kind of the bell of the ball. So it's going up. And exactly like you said, you're still producing a lot more meal than you did before, but less of a market demand for it. So that's exactly right. Did see meal rebound a bit today after it had been falling, but kind of same deal for me as far as oil is concerned, just the opposite side of the coin, where been dropping and finally caught a little bit of a footing here.
Let's talk about the livestock side now, where saw some things here recently that we haven't seen for a while, and that is a little bit of pressure on the cattle side for the markets. Did that at noon, I should say, or at midday, we had the price to the downside quite a bit. Is that how it closed in the cattle today?
They are, yeah. Just looking here, June live cattle down almost $4, and August feeders down almost $7. So certainly an ugly day in the red there, opposite what we saw in the grains. But this was looking here before I got on. I really don't think there's any big news, at least that I can find. No big diseases coming through the border or anything like that. I think you just, when you're at these lofty levels, especially $300 feeders, the breaks are going to be ugly and violent. And on that feeder contract, we had an open gap still from 10 days, 2 weeks ago that we went and got filled today. I think the market was probably hunting that once it got some downward momentum. So I don't think I'm overly concerned about the big picture, although if your producer put option can go a long way in here. But, I just don't think we're going to completely fall out of bed yet unless there's more news coming behind this.
And to that point, just because we see the downturn here today doesn't necessarily mean we won't see the exact opposite tomorrow. I mean, we've seen some swings like that with the cattle market. That price just wants to keep climbing up. And I guess it's, like you said, the ultimate determination will be when we have that downturn that's for a sustained period, but no way to know when that's going to happen until we actually see it, right?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, from a technical perspective, which I kind of like to use on livestock markets, the best thing I know to do is just to kind of start watching your moving averages and watch old peaks and valleys, so to speak. If you look at a chart and see an old high that we went through and now are coming back on, you'd like to see the market catch there. If it doesn't, that may be signs that things are starting to get a bit overdone, so to speak, and so none of those have happened yet. That's just kind of what I would keep an eye on, are those technical indicators. But like you said, well, on both cattle contracts and hogs, we're peeling off of contract highs here, so some pullbacks are to be expected. Overall, markets still feel pretty healthy to me.
Kaden, what's the best way for our viewers to get in touch for more marketing information?
Yeah, just go to our website, agmarket.net. Pretty good stuff coming out this week. We had a fundamental video yesterday on some renewable fuel stuff, and we also have been doing a weekly webinar with Eric Snodgrass talking weather, and we all know how important weather is this time of year. So go on there. You can check that out free for 30 days.
Eric certainly always has something interesting to say when it comes to those weather forecasts and looking down the road, so check that out. Kaden Sweeney, agmarket.net. Thanks so much for the time here on Tuesday, and we'll speak again soon. Have a great rest of your day.
Yep, sounds good, Mark. Appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you to Kaden Sweeney of agmarket.net for our closing markets here today. Let's take a look at how the markets finished, and you can find that information anytime under the Markets tab of our website at iowaagnet.com.
July corn closes down 3 1/4 at 431.5. July soybeans up 4 1/4 at 10.74 even. July soybean meal up $1.40 at 285.10. July soybean oil down 32 cents at 54.79. Chicago wheat up 12 1/2 at 5.49 even. Minneapolis wheat up 8 cents at 6.30 3/4. Kansas City hard red wheat up 11 3/4 at 5.47 3/4. July oats down 8 1/2 cents at 3.71 even. On the Merc, August live cattle down 4.90 at 210.65. August feeder cattle down 6.88 at 303.35. July lean hogs down 15 cents at 111.65. July pork cutout up 18 cents at 117.10. Class 3 milk up a penny at 17.97.
That wraps up our closing market coverage for today and brings us to the end of today's show. You can find all of our content on our website at iowaagnet.com. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel. Click on the notification icon to let you know whenever there's any new videos available from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. You can also follow us on social media at Facebook, X, and LinkedIn. And you can listen to our morning, midday, and closing market podcast, as well as our daily episodes of our Iowa Ag Matters podcast at YouTube, Spotify, Podbean, and Google. From the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network studios in Des Moines, I'm Mark Magnuson. For Ashton Jolly, Riley Smith, Dustin Huffman, and Andy Peterson, we thank you for watching. This has been Ag Matters PM.